I think there is an understanding in Holyrood, in fact, of the seriousness of rural depopulation because of the lack of affordable housing. Now, quite clearly at the moment, the current position is that there are not enough houses to go around that are affordable, and it's unlikely, given funding constraints, that there will be unless something radical and unique is actually done. And I think that's really where HIFAR comes in, because what HIFAR is offering to do is something completely different from anything that's been done elsewhere in Arran and only one or two places elsewhere in the whole of Scotland, and that's to look at really a self-build and self-management of homes. And so there are going to be housing developments through the normal process. What I think makes HIFAR so exciting that it's radically different, it's something that's different from either a local authority or a registered social landlord. It's effectively people trying to take a bit more control of their own lives. It may be, for example, a housing cooperative is the way forward. That's something that I'm keen to explore.
There's different possibilities for this, and these legalities have really got to be thought through, because it's quite a new thing. There's a thing called the housing burden, which would mean that you would have to sell that house back to the community trust, and that's given that the community trust would have bought the land, and you would not get the market value of the house. You would get the value of the house plus the interest, so you wouldn't lose any money by it. But you wouldn't be building a house for 70,000 and selling it for 300,000. You would be selling it for 70,000 and say it was 10 years later, well, interest may have accrued to be 90,000, whatever.
There can't be any possibility of owner-occupied housing which is then sold at a great profit subsequently after public money's been included.
The whole point about HIFAR is that any houses that are created in the forest must be there in perpetuity for the community. That means that people will not profit by building a house there and be able to sell it at the full market cost, because all the houses, whatever they are, whether they're crofts, self-build or through a social landlord, will have to stay within the community.
All I would do with my house is obviously want to pass it down through my family, and I wouldn't want to make any profit whatsoever on it. Yeah. No.
I don't know, we've looked at those kind of kit houses as well, those Scandinavian things. That's probably possible.
But it's getting planning
talking
permission.
about that. Aye, I think it'd be hard to get planning permission in here. Thought about it, maybe up there, but I think it'd be, unless you're a nurse or something, you get special key worker planning permission, I think. But I don't know if we'd get that, unless I become a nurse.
It's become normal for people to assume that the only place for settlement to develop is in existing settlements, and that we've lost the confidence, the ambition to think that we can actually develop places in a way that can be fundamentally successful.
In general, I would say if we can identify sites and get everybody working together, that's the big thing. Getting everybody to work together. The local community, North Ayrshire Council, the forestry, Arran Homes, get them all working together. And let's not go into it with a negative attitude. Let's look at a positive attitude and say, hey, this is possible. Might need to change our attitudes a wee bit, every one of us. But it's possible. Let's go on with it.
It's always difficult to see where you are in a historical period of time. I'm sure people will look back on this time and realise this is the final clearance of the island of the native population. It's happened very rapidly in the last 40 years. And 40 years ago, you know, well more than 90% of the people living here were sort of born and bred here. And during that time, there's been a huge sea change. There needs to be sweeping changes throughout Scotland about land ownership. This is only one part of that issue, and that's, people really have to become aware of it and do something about it.
So we need young people to know that they've got a future in the island that they've spent most of their lives or actually were born in, and we need to know that people have actually got a real stake in their own community and their own society.
I do want to stay. I love it here. It's just my heart is on Arran. I don't want to move away. I want to settle here. It's just a real pity. People need to speak up. I mean, a lot of people are quite quiet. They'll say, you know, we're in this situation, but because they're not seeing any progress, then they'll be quite quiet and they won't come out and say their point. Whereas if everybody in my situation spoke up, then they would get a bigger picture of it.